Hey everybody, it's Morgan J. Ingram here. I have a special guest, Brandon. He has got a lot of knowledge in sales, a lot of knowledge about marketing. So I brought him on the show today to discuss this topic of account-based marketing framework, how he does it and how he's implemented it. So without any further ado, I'm going to let Brandon introduce himself and I'm going to the questions.
Hey guys, what's going on? Thanks Morgan for having us. We're humbled to be here. We love what you got going on with the SDR Chronicles, and couldn't be more happy to support it.
Awesome, Brandon. So let's dive into the first question. What is account-based marketing and what is account-based sales development? What does that all mean to you?
Yeah, so account-based sales and marketing is just looking at all the personas at an account and figuring out how to communicate with them in a valuable, strategic, driven way to help them accomplish their goals and live their dreams. And it's funny because I feel like when Salesforce came out, they were big on pushing customers to do leads. Put everyone in the leads bucket in Salesforce, and you're calling and emailing random different people at random different companies. And in my background of enterprise selling, I'd always build accounts, grab every potential persona in marketing and sales at that account, get them into Salesforce, and then start marketing and selling to them as an account-based sales and marketing approach. So, in our opinion, account-based sales and marketing is just acquiring and communicating with your total addressable market at every single account. It's not, if we sell a sales automation product, we're not just talking to SDRs. We're talking to SDRs. We're talking to directors of sales. We're talking to chief revenue officer, VP of sales. We're talking to the marketing team. We're understanding what are those companies doing, to drive revenue growth, to save money, whatever that may be, and really build strategic, valuable, long-term relationships with those accounts.
Awesome. And you brought up a lot of great points there. So I want to kind of break it down into different questions. Number one, you talked about, hey, you're not just talking to the SDR, you're also talking to maybe VP of sales or the director of sales. Are you doing different scripts for those individuals, or are you just saying, hey, I have the same message and hopefully one of these click?
Yeah, great question. So my background has been working at some of the top digital marketing agencies in the world. And the good news about selling for some of the top digital agencies like a Resource Interactive, an IBM, a Google, a Fathom, is that you're selling to the Fortune 500 and you have to be very specific to every persona you touch. So we're big fans of, you got to segment your messaging by persona and also by sales cycle. So the SDRs aren't going to care about, making sure every sales rep exceeds sales quota. That's your chief revenue officer's job. The director of sales isn't going to care about, making 200 calls versus 100 calls in a day. They're going to care about how do they crush their quota. And then obviously being an SDR, you want to be able to execute as much activity as possible, book as many appointments as possible, you name it. So everyone's key performance indicators, key responsibilities are totally different. You need to have different messaging in your outbound sales workflow automation platform that speaks to those personas. And then if you want to get really aggressive with it, you could have different messaging for each persona from the top of the funnel to the middle of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel. Top of the funnel could be strategies, ideas, best practices. Then after a meeting and you're trying to work that deal and close it, you may be sharing case studies, white papers, ebooks. And then that bottom of the funnel, we've got a proposal out. We're competing with Terminus is competing with Marketo or Eloqua or XYZ. You're going to be shooting out case studies. You're going to be shooting out video testimonials of clients. And that's really why we're big on, you definitely want to segment your messaging. But also don't get bogged down in the details. If you've got too much going on, first get one message out to all the personas at the account, then work on segmenting them by role, then work on segmenting those emails, those calls, those voicemails, those social sales scripts by the sales cycle as well. So really a three-stepped approach.
Yeah, no, I like how you really broke that down into those different steps. And let's also talk about, you got the messages down, you have the scripts down, you know who you're talking to. What channels should you be talking to them on? Is it through the phone? Is it just solely, purely, I know social selling is like really big for a lot of people, LinkedIn? Is it just going through Twitter, or is it strictly phone? Like, how does that work with each person that you're talking to?
Yeah, totally. And I know you guys at Terminus are used to this. Being my background in digital marketing, we'd always pitch multi-channel marketing campaigns. Multi-channel marketing campaigns means you're targeting the consumers via SEO, paid search, display advertising, content marketing, social media, mobile, you name it. And the salespeople and marketers need to leverage the same for B2B account-based sales and marketing. We got to leverage it all. You know, you got to leverage calling, voicemailing, emailing, social selling. We got to leverage some direct mail for enterprise accounts, you know, some thank you letters, things like that. You just got to do it all and prioritize the amount of effort by the return on investment per channel. So in marketing, everything is tracked by the cost per acquisition. In search marketing, paid search marketing, what is the cost per acquisition? In SEO, what is the cost per acquisition? In social media, what is the cost per acquisition? You can leverage that same approach, especially for outbound selling, account-based selling, and for your marketing efforts. And then just track your ROI, your cost per acquisition, and then understand if you've got 100% and 50% of your deals are coming from outbound email and outbound, demand gen email marketing, then, the majority of your time use email, but don't get away from using calling, using social selling, you name it. You got to be able to use it all. And I call that omni-channel marketing. How are we everywhere using it all to connect with your audience with the type of message that they want delivered with the type of channel that they want it from?
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. You want to be everywhere. You want to be always in front of your prospects. So with the omni-channel approach, what can someone start doing now? Like focusing on that one thing and then building from there, or saying, hey, should they go all in? What kind is your advice as people are doing that account-based framework?
So the account-based framework, to get started, build a massive prospect list right away, every day, every week, every month, every quarter. If you're given, for example, let's say Terminus, and you do this every day. So Morgan, I don't need to tell you anything you don't know, but if you're given 10 accounts, you better figure out everyone in marketing, everyone in sales at those accounts. It could be 5 people, could be 10 people, could be 20 people. Grab all of them, get their contact information, get your research on them, get it into Salesforce. Then start executing. Like, maybe it's calling and emailing, and you're doing what we like to call the combo meal, where you're just doing a call, voicemail, email every touch. Or it's, hey, start out with emailing, then start out with social selling, then follow up with a call. Whatever it may be, just get everyone at that account that matches any type of role that could be a part of the buying process, or user or influencer or decision maker, into Salesforce, and just reach out to them at least with one of the channels to get started. And whatever the channel that you're most comfortable with, I'd recommend leveraging, but also push yourself. Push yourself to use things that you're not comfortable with. For example, I used to be scared of the phone 10 years ago. Then you start forcing yourself to get on the phone and reach out to people. I was scared shitless to do videos. I'm like, oh my God, videos, I'm gonna look like an idiot on camera. But then you push yourself, like, who cares? Who cares if Morgan thinks I'm an idiot on camera? If I'm delivering value to my prospects, that's all that matters. How do I deliver value to my audience that helps move their business forward, that helps make them a lot of money? So start with one of the channels that you're most comfortable with, then start adding other channels that you're less comfortable with, and then you just build up that activity from there. But without the accounts and contacts, you can't do anything.
Yeah, you got to prospect. I mean, that's number one. You always have to be prospecting, or you'll have no one to reach out to. You'll just have a lot of content or resources going to really nowhere. So I do agree with you. I think this is actually funny that you mentioned the videos and everything like that. Like, I would probably say 3 years ago, like probably when I made my first video, I sounded absolutely horrible. Looking back on it, I was like, this sucked. But however, now it's like when people watch it, it's like, oh, it's just a natural. It's not really that. It's I've practiced it. I've done it multiple times. So now I'm comfortable in it. Same thing with calling. Most people who started cold calling at first said we're just really afraid of it. And now it's like a second nature type of activity. So what would you tell people that are trying to get into those account-based frameworks? And you kind of already mentioned it, but like, hey, maybe people I heard like now, like video is a really good thing and we're starting to move into that. What would you say to someone who's afraid of that? Just dive into it and maybe send it to someone who knows that really well, or like dive into it like, hey, send this to prospects just so you can get your feet wet into that process.
Yeah, I would probably practice a little bit, right? Maybe shoot a few videos on your own, send it to your colleagues, get their feedback, You want to optimize your account-based selling and marketing efforts in real time, and you can't analyze it yourself. So you got to shoot it like to someone above you, someone below you, someone at your role. And what I would do is like with anything, with video, with a social LinkedIn invitation message that you just wrote up, shoot it to people in your network and get their feedback. And then once you've got a good amount of feedback and you've optimized your account-based approach in sales and marketing, just then you can start executing. I definitely wouldn't shoot from the hip immediately. I'd work on the message, make sure it's pretty solid, and then just go right after it.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's perfect. So what would you say in your account-based sales approach that you have today, what is something that you use the most and you see the most success with?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We're using all the same channels over and over again and working to get really great at them. Email is huge. Calling's also pretty big. But we feel that the people that can't be effective on the phone don't actually know how to leverage the phone. The psychology of the phone, you got to be able to open up with a lot of energy, with positivity, leverage the art and science of that positive psychology. You got to say something that connects with the prospect. So, in any one of these channels, when people say social selling doesn't work, or the phone doesn't work, or email doesn't work, we don't listen to any of that. We just figure out how do we maximize our performance at all the channels. So we're doing a lot of, email marketing, calling, social selling. We're doing some video. We're doing some texting. Everyone's got their phone. And platforms like Seamless or from an email signature, you get their cell phone. So like you and I, we didn't even talk on the phone. We've been texting a lot, and messaging on LinkedIn. And I keep telling you to email me, and it's like we're always talking via LinkedIn and mobile because it's just fast and easy for us, and we're used to it. So it's like, use them all and figure out what you can do to get your audience to respond. Like you knew that I'm always on LinkedIn. So hitting me up on LinkedIn is perfect because that's where I'm at all day. So every account is going to be different. So like when I sold to technology digital marketers in the software and tech field, those guys were always checking their email. Those guys were always checking their email, checking social, and never picking up the phone. If you try to call a marketer at Nike on the phone, most likely they're probably not going to pick up. And that's just the reality of that industry, right? But if you call someone that's in, JP Morgan or Wells Fargo and they're in marketing, you're going to be able to get them on the phone because they're so used to their other executives calling them all the time, jumping on conference calls. The banking industry, they're not allowed to do a lot of social media. Most of them have the social media channels blocked. So if you're trying to sell into an account-based approach to JP Morgan or Huntington Bank or Wells Fargo or any of those guys, they can't even check social media. So don't use social media, use calling and emailing. Every account is different, every industry is different. Figure out the best channels for that industry and those personas, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. You have to understand each industry and how to access that. So my follow-up question is, how important is research in those industries, and where can someone start researching those industries so their account-based method outreach is spot on?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I am a huge fan of, when I was selling 6- and 7-figure deals at IBM Interactive, which was Resource, and at Fathom, which is a top 20 Google search agency, I had to research the hell out of every account that I sold into. It was all account-based sales and marketing. I believe that you should research everyone you're going to prospect. Aaron Ross crushed it with predictable revenue, right? And I love the model because it really just revolutionized inside sales into sales development and how critical it is for sales development for any company to survive and thrive. The problem with the model, and this was again, circa 2001 or whatever, was that there was no research. It was all build a massive list, spray 100 emails. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that breaks my heart. You got to research these people. You got to research what they do, what they manage. And for example, for you guys, you do account-based marketing software, right? And you help companies maximize revenue with account-based marketing. If I'm about to sell that software to Adobe or Intuit or Intel or any of those guys, I'm going to research
Right.
what are they doing in online marketing? What are they doing in SEO? What are they doing in paid search? What are they doing in content? What are they doing in social? Where are they at today? And where do they need to go tomorrow? And how does my software accomplish that for them? And I highlight all of that research in my email, my call, my voicemail scripts, and your conversion rate, leveraging all of that research. This is all data that's like publicly available. Looking at what technologies they leverage, looking at what they're doing in online marketing, looking at what they're doing in social. You take that all, you leverage it in your outbound marketing, you tie in strategies and ideas that your organization has, and then you execute it. So I'm a big fan of like 20 to 40% of your time is on researching the account. The 60, 70% of the time is on execution.
Yeah, no, I think that makes the most sense is like I think execution is the most important thing, but it's also important to understand the strategic plan to execute. Otherwise, you're not going to really go anywhere, right? So yeah, I love how you kind of touched on that and talked about the execution portion of that, where to go and what to do. So I want to kind of talk about.
What do you guys do? Just to flip the tables, Morgan. I'd love to hear. You guys are we're experts in account-based sales intelligence. You guys are experts at account-based marketing. What are the pain points that you typically see with your personas in account-based marketing, and how do you leverage, like what research do you leverage and how do you leverage it to book more appointments and close more deals?
Yeah, definitely. So I think overall it's also understanding like who we're targeting and who we're talking to. So we're talking to B2B marketers. Most of them don't really like talking on the phone, to be honest. But what we have found is through basically LinkedIn or like a email outreach, the biggest thing that they are the proponents of is content. So we just try to find relevant content that they can digest, and then they can make their own decisions on whether or not, hey, this is the platform for them. Because I feel as if, hey, look, I tell you what it is, it could actually resonate, but it resonates more if you hear it from your peers and they're saying like, hey, account-based marketing is on your radar. And so we do that, and we also have air cover from our account-based marketing platform, of course, that's providing those display ads as well. So it's understanding the tandem of, hey, we're giving out content, it's relevant to you, this is what really matters, and then also understanding what type of messages to put in front of those people and understanding, hey, what are their pain points, and diving with the value prop within those emails or calls. So that's really how we do it, and that's how our framework works.
Okay, that's awesome. And then where would you go? And I did a few videos this week on finding thought leadership content that you can share, but where do you guys go? Obviously your marketing team probably does a ton of content marketing on account-based marketing, but where do you go, like if marketing hasn't written up an ebook or a blog in a week or two, you need to share something of value, like what do you do to look for that valuable content that you could share in your account-based sales and marketing approach?
Yeah, I think overall you have, Google. Like Google's one of the best things you can do.
I haven't heard of those guys. Yeah. I'll have to check them out.
Right. So we Google. It's like say, hey, look, we have, what are the top account-based marketing articles, and we look at those. I mean, we're fortunate enough that we have Sangram, who is a major thought leader in account-based marketing, so that helps that we can kind of say his content. However, there are others as well. So we have like ABM professors through ABMU, which we have, and so we just basically have their content and we share it with the marketers that are out there. It's just super important, of course.
Yeah, that's great.
The thought leaders who are leading this and saying, hey, look, this is what we want to do, and we just continue to do that. And so that's what we found is the best, is that at the end of the day, like you're going to listen to someone who's your peer that's telling you to do this than like a random stranger calling you out of the blue, like, hey, you should do this. It's just easier when you have both of those in tandem. So now they're like, I really do need to look at this. So those are the things that we really look into. If the content's not there, which most of the time it is, but hey, I can also Google account-based marketing articles that are relevant, have high context, and I can send it to my prospect.
Yeah. And like some of the tools that I've started to leverage for that as well here at Seamless, we've been leveraging like Feedly. So you find all of the sites with the best account-based marketing or sales articles, blog posts, strategies, ideas, you throw them into Feedly. Then you've got this nice feed every day of like, what's the latest and greatest from all your favorite people in your network. And then you can just take that content and start sharing it with your prospects. It's so easy. Same with Google Alerts, right? Google Alerts, there's Feedly, there's a lot of Twitter hashtags.
Yeah.
You just go into Twitter and search account-based marketing, account-based sales, you name it, you're going to find a ton of content that everyone's sharing.
Right. So let's kind of dive into what you're doing. Twitter, how do you use hashtags to get in front of the right prospects?
Yeah, so hashtags are interesting, and I'm still skilling up on my hashtag game. But let's just say, Seamless. We sell an account-based sales intelligence platform. So what we're going to do is we're going to search Twitter, we're going to search Google, we're going to search LinkedIn, we're going to search Facebook. Anyone that's talking about account-based selling, account-based marketing, sales development, enterprise, enterprise selling, all these different hashtags. Anyone that's tweeting about them or posting about them on LinkedIn or Facebook, we want to follow in a long, extensive list. And then we want to start following those people and conversating with them. These people are going to be posting questions like, I'm new to account-based marketing. How do I do it? I'm new to account-based selling. How do I do it? I need to figure out how to get all the intelligence about my accounts that I want to sell to. And then when you start searching those hashtags, you'll see the conversations. You'll see who's conversating about it. And then you start building your prospecting list like, oh, Joe Smith over at, I'm going to use Intuit again. Over at Intuit is talking about leveraging account-based marketing and sales. So then you're going to start tweeting to them. You're going to try to build that relationship and help them out. And that's really how you can leverage those hashtags to start staying on top of the most recent conversations. It's kind of like LinkedIn groups. You stay on top of the LinkedIn groups where people are talking about your need, the needs that align with the solution that you're offering. And then you can start answering questions. You can start trying to be of value.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. You got to be where your audience is, or it's not going to work. You gotta be where your audience is. You have to get in front of them in those ways, or like I said, it will not work for you. So I would also ask, on an account-based marketing standpoint, what have been some things that you have used to kind of get your message out there while you're also selling?
Yeah, great question. So account-based sales and marketing, it's really just like account-based revenue generation. Like, how do we generate as much revenue using account-based sales and account-based marketing? So you're going to use, like with account-based sales, you're going to go emails, calls, social touches, voicemails, content, video, texting, direct mail. Okay. And then account-based marketing, what we do at Seamless to fill the funnel with hot qualified marketing leads and hot qualified SQL sales qualified leads is we'll pair it with an account-based marketing approach, leveraging display advertising. Wherever our audience is browsing, we want them to see a display ad from Seamless. We're also going to leverage retargeting. If they come to our website, if they clicked a link in an email and they're interested in us, I want them to see Seamless in their face 24/7, retargeting. And then also leveraging, content marketing, drip email nurturing. So really account-based marketing approach to email marketing where we've got our outbound sales emails going out, but then you want your lead nurturing account-based emails going out that are educational, value-driven, persona specific. And then you've also got your social media campaigns. So the great news with paid search and display and texting is you can align it to all of your personas. Like Facebook, LinkedIn, Google, you could literally say, these are the accounts that I'm selling to. These are the types of people that I'm selling to. And then all of that marketing goes directly to them with your value proposition and your persona and your call to action. So pairing the two together is really unstoppable.
Yeah, no, I really love what you're saying here. And hopefully, everyone that will listen to this will understand how all this can be implemented in sales development. So I guess my question to you to steer it towards that direction, sales development wise, what there's a lot of information here. What would you say to someone like, hey, look, this is how you should start something? Should it be, hey, learning how to research first? Is it learning how to maybe do the outreach first? What would you tell someone like to kind of have this whole account-based methodology part of their process day in and day out?
If I was hiring someone today and I wanted them to take an account-based sales development approach, I'd say every account you go after, you need to have at least 5 to 10 people in your account list from manager to director to VP. Build the lists, get them into Salesforce. Once you have your lists, put together strategic, value-driven messaging. 70% could be about us, 30% about the prospect. Research them and make sure at least 30 to 40% of your outbound account-based sales approach is about your personas, about your prospects. If I'm just talking about how great Seamless is, how we've helped XYZ, we do this and that, like no one gives a shit about me. No one cares about me.
Right.
No one cares about Seamless. No one cares about what I do, where I went to school, what shoes I'm wearing. They don't care. No one cares about me and what we're doing. But they care about, like, how are they going to drive more sales? How are they going to book more appointments? How are they going to generate more revenue? How are they going to pay for their mortgage? How are they going to take care of their kids? That's what we need to focus on. And that's why I think fill the funnel with the qualified contacts you need to sell to at every account. Then work on messaging. 40%, 30% about the prospect. The other 60% about you, the vendor reaching out to these guys and how great you are and how you can help their business. And then lastly, the step 3, rule of 10, make sure you have at least 10 follow-ups. So, this is going to be stressful. You're going to be like, oh my God, I got to follow up 10 times.
Yeah.
Yes. What's message 1 and where is that going to be distributed? What channels is that going to be distributed? What's message 2? What are you going to communicate? What value are you going to deliver to the prospect? What research are you going to use? Message 3, message 4. So have at least 10. Rule of 10 follow-ups. Most salespeople, I think the stat is 75 to 80% of salespeople quit after the 3rd follow-up.
Yeah, which is crazy.
like rule of 10, you got to do it and follow up at least 10 times with your prospect. And I'm saying like that could be social is 1 follow-up, emails follow-up 2, call-ins follow-up 3, like mix it up. Display advertising could be follow-up 4, whatever that may be, but at least 10 follow-ups. And if you follow step 1, fill the funnel with every persona, top down, bottom up, middle in between is in Salesforce. Step 2, it's not about you, it's about them with your messaging. And then step 3, follow up as much as possible. You'll be golden. I mean, you'll be ahead of 90% of the people out there.
I think you just gave like the golden process right there. I think you get it right there. So Brandon, I've really enjoyed this interview so far. But I have one final question to you that I ask everyone who comes on the Chronicle. What is one piece of advice that you would give to an SDR who's new and starting their role?
The one piece of advice. So I was able, as a sales development lead, as a sales director, I was able to 10x my income. Part of it was a lot of hard work. Part of it was because of the software that I built, Seamless AI. I like to say it was a mix of both. But what I remember, my chief revenue officer came to me and gave me a quota. He said, Brandon, you need to do 100,000 in MRR. And this was years ago. And it was, 100,000 in MRR is 1.2 million. And I'm like, I was looking at the number and I'm like, man, I'll be able to make a good living. I'll be able to make X off of that if I'm 100% to quota. I'm like, why am I thinking so small? I'm like, dude, what if I 5x that? What if I 10x that? And I'm like, it'd be totally nuts. Quota's 100,000 in MRR. What if I did 500,000? What if I did $1 million in MRR, which is really 12 million versus $1 million quota?
Yeah.
And then I figured out I 5 to 10x my sales quota, and I figured out the daily activities that I needed to execute to hit that number. And every day, that's all me and my team, that's all my team and I worked on. Every day was hitting the 5x, the 10x number, not the original number. A quota is given to you by your VP saying, here's what I think your potential is. Show your team, show your company, show your customers what your potential is. Your potential isn't some number that the CFO crunches on the computer and gets to you. So I just felt, dude, 100,000 is cool. I'm going to do 500,000 to $1 million in monthly recurring revenue. I'll generate a ton of money for my clients, a ton of money for my employer, a ton of money for myself. So my biggest piece of advice, guys, is to not underestimate your potential. If you try to 10x your revenue and you fall short at 8x, you are 8x richer for you, your company, your employer, your employees that are looking out at you to support them, you name it. So go big, think big, you can do it. And I look forward to seeing you all do it.
Awesome. Brandon, I think I'm fired up, and I'm always fired up. So I'm even more fired up than I was before. So, I mean, if you guys don't take that advice, I don't know. I mean, that's just perfect.
Do we have a prospect? Let's call someone. Let's email someone right now. No.
It's Sunday. Who cares, right?
Dude, they got to be. Someone's working right now. We can call or email someone.
No, but I agree with you. I think you have to be able to exceed expectations, because if you mentally, I'm all about mindset. Like if you mentally cannot believe that you can exceed expectations, you'll always just hit the expectation. So, and you don't want to do that, because to live the life that you probably want, that you want to live, you have to actually exceed those expectations every single day. So, Brandon, I really enjoyed this episode. I'm super pumped. And yeah, man. So always, as I always say, guys, keep dialing, and I'll see you guys soon.
Have a good one, guys. Cheers.